All right, everyone. So if you guys are wondering why I've got a TET BLACKSTAR staff open here in my central market, it's because today I wanted to take this video as an opportunity to really give you guys all of the super important must-know info specifically about TET BLACKSTAR, especially if you are deciding on possibly enhancing a TET BLACKSTAR, or also if you're just looking to buy one. A lot of this info is going to be really useful to know whether to make that decision, of course, to buy your gear or enhance it. I'm sure a lot of you guys know by now how I feel about this. Like, it's really easy to spend more silver than the current price of a piece of equipment and not have it. So if you're looking for the safe option, I will say that the prices for TET BLACKSTAR, they are very, very reasonable. We're looking at 11-ish to 12.5 billion silver. Maybe a while ago, they used to be more expensive and not as good of a deal. But for a main hand here, obviously the Awakenings are going to be a little bit more expensive because they do require a Spectre's energy. Still, like, the prices are reasonable. Not a bad option at all. If you are looking to get a TET BLACKSTAR and you don't want to enhance it, you don't have Massive Pure Magic, you just don't want to take the risk, or you just don't like the enhancing system, whatever it is, not a bad choice at all to just save up the silver and buy one. The prices are very, very reasonable. So let's get into some really important stuff that I get a lot of questions on the stream specifically about TET BLACKSTAR. And this is something that I've actually noticed people starting to ask more. I'm not too sure why, but lately I've been getting a lot of questions about BLACKSTAR and TET BLACKSTAR. And let's start off with the most asked questions that I end up getting and the most important stuff you're going to want to know, especially getting into enhancing. And that is going to be the Failstacks specifically for TET here. So I get this question a ton lately, more than ever, and I will tell you guys for the Failstacks, the most important thing is going to be what's the highest level Failstack that you can really go up to for TET, and I'll spend a few minutes talking about that because that's a really important one. Let's start off with the slightly easier one, which is the lower end of the Failstacks, basically what's going to be the starting point for TET BLACKSTAR. And the common starting point for your TET BLACKSTAR attempts, this means clicking on a try BLACKSTAR and trying to get a TET BLACKSTAR, your typical starting point is going to be 110. So that would be 100 plus 10 Valk's Cry. So a lot of the times, I don't know about a lot of the times, maybe that's not the right way to say it, but occasionally the game will end up giving out free 100 stacks like they did a couple of weeks ago. We ended up getting one of those. They're going to come like this in a device of Valk's plus 100. Perfectly fine. That's like the typical starting point for a TET BLACKSTAR. You would just end up using one of these right here. You would use 10 Valk's Cry, and you're good to go. That is a fantastic starting point for TET BLACKSTAR. Now, for the slightly more advanced players, and I'll just quick note on this because this is a little bit more advanced, I am okay with starting like 10 levels earlier. If you are looking to finish off your fail stacks to try to get 110 stacks for accessories, so like you could start as low as 100, that would be like 90 and 10 Valk's Cries. Don't worry about it if you're not like a super advanced player and you're not really getting too into enhancing and accessories and all that sort of stuff. Like 110 is really the perfect spot in order to start. And that's the easy one there. The more difficult one, and the one that I end up getting a lot more questions about, is going to be, what is the point to really stop? What's the stopping point for your TET BLACKSTAR attempts? And this is the one I wanted to spend a few minutes on because this is a really, really big one. And there's a lot of different answers that a lot of people will give out there. And I'll tell you guys that there's really going to be two answers that I will give you guys, and it really has to do with how flexible you are and how many backup fail stacks you have. This is a really big one, and I want to emphasize, like, not everybody has a million fail stacks like I do. I enhance basically all day long. I've got stacks for days. Like, I can find fail stack levels for exactly what I need in a matter of a few minutes or even a few seconds. Like, it's just what I do all day. But a lot of people don't really like enhancing, or they don't spend a lot of time enhancing. It's not really realistic for people to just have piles of 100 stacks or piles of 50 stacks or whatever they are looking for. And if that's the case, if you do not have a backup stack, like if you don't have multiple 100 stacks like this right here, you can go all the way up to 200. Now at 200, that's going to be a hard stop. Like, do not go into the 200s with TET BLACKSTAR. Even if you don't have another stack, I know it sucks. It's unfortunate. You're going to want to take a bit of a pause there, try to work on something else, hold that fail stack. It's just too valuable now. It's too high for TET BLACKSTAR. It's actually starting to get close to even be a reasonable stack for Pen BLACKSTAR, which is miles ahead of TET BLACKSTAR. So like at that point, you're going to want to take a stop, try to get yourself another stack eventually, even if it means waiting for another 110 stack from login rewards, and hold off. Now, if you do have multiple fail stacks to work with, if you've got another 100 stack backup stacks, I would really try to stop like around 170 or so. 160, 170, 180 at the highest. I'm really not a big fan of clicking on TET BLACKSTAR attempts past 170. Like that spot of going from 170 to 200, I'm not really a big fan of that unless you have absolutely no other options. So if your goal is primarily to get a TET BLACKSTAR, you don't have any backup fail stacks, you really want it. It's like the one item that you want super badly, and like it's gonna mean the whole world to you to get it. Go for it. You can go up to 200. That's totally fine. Don't go any higher than that, but you can go up to 200. But realistically, like if you can try to stop at 170 or so, like if you've got backup stacks, I'll tell you that it is better to start off on a fresh new 100 plus 10 stack, so 110 with Valk's Cry, than to keep going past 170. And I know that sounds crazy, but trust me, especially when you start going for that higher tier gear, and when you really realize the value of fail stacks for some of the crazy stuff like pen accessories, pen BLACKSTAR, that sort of stuff, you're going to really regret like clicking 200 plus and having it pop and succeed on a TET BLACKSTAR. I mean, if you really want it, you really want it, but I definitely cannot recommend it. I'd say 170 is like the more appropriate stopping point for your TET BLACKSTAR attempts. And if you've got another 110 stack, start that new stack over, save that 160, 170, 180, start doing your boss gear clicks at that point. That's a great stack to start clicking on a boss gear. Much better to start boss gear later, whereas for TET BLACKSTAR, it's much better to start earlier. And I want to emphasize that. Where TET BLACKSTAR, you're actually going to get the best clicks are going to be like closer to 110. Like between the 110 to 140 range, that's like the sweet spot for TET BLACKSTAR. Those are fantastic levels. You get an insane amount of value, even if you fail just in fail stack values, because your alternative is clicking on boss gear, right? It's doing your TET boss gear attempts. And these are very, very expensive compared to BLACKSTAR clicks. Like these are more expensive. They're harder to build up back up to TET. Remember BLACKSTAR, you essentially skip a step, but it's not quite that simple, obviously. But nonetheless, like it is more expensive to click on TET boss gear than it is to click on try BLACKSTAR for your TET BLACKSTAR attempts. So BLACKSTAR is going to be better closer to like 110 to 140, and boss gear is actually, while it is okay to still start on it at 110 to 140, like it's going to start to get better as you get closer to 170. So always prioritize BLACKSTAR first before boss gear if you are building a fail stack. And this is why, like a lot of the times if you tune into my stream, I'll say like BLACKSTAR is phenomenal. TET BLACKSTAR is great for building fail stacks because you just get so much value for your clicks in the low 100 fail stacks that even if you fail, those 5 fail stack levels are very, very valuable, and the alternative is much, much more expensive. So the ending point, really 160, 170 to 190, 200, depending on what you're going for. If you have backup stacks, I'd say though, as a general rule of thumb, the earlier you stop, the better, because the better clicks are always going to be at the start of the stack for BLACKSTAR instead of at the end in your ending points. Now, that's a good transition here into the next point that I talked about, how it's so valuable to gain those fail stack levels. A lot of people also ask the question, is it worth cronning for TET BLACKSTAR? And I want to take a second to explain here why this is going to be a very, very bad option. And if you are going to cron BLACKSTAR, and I wouldn't really recommend this unless you really know what you're doing, because it's very easy for this to become an incredibly, incredibly unprofitable play where you're going to be dumping a lot of money. You really have to click on the right levels. Like if you are going to cron BLACKSTAR, instead of doing your try to TET cron attempts, which is going to cost you 591 cron stones, it's really, really expensive. You're going to want to do the step lower. So you're going to want to cron duo to try BLACKSTAR, which is going to cost you 100 cron stones. And the crazy thing as well is, like, if you're using a somewhat reasonable stack here for your duo to try BLACKSTAR, like just the cron stone cost, that's the no-brainer option, because like it's 100 cron stones versus 591. So like if you are cronning duo to try on like a 60 stack, that already is like, it's almost a quarter of the time that it's gonna get up to try. This is only cost you 100 cron stone. So like you could do this 4 times right? And it's going to cost you way less cron stones than doing the try to TET. Now that's one thing, but obviously the more important thing is that when you do cron your try to TET Blackstar, you miss out on those incredibly valuable fail stack levels. The fail stack levels from Blackstar are huge because of the alternative, which is if you're trying to get fail stack levels in the low 100s, your only options are really Blackstar and Boss Gear. And these clicks are very, very, very expensive compared to Blackstar. Like you'll see that the cost of getting from Pry to try Blackstar is much cheaper than the cost of going from Pry to TET Boss Gear. So the clicks are much cheaper and the fail stack levels that you gain are very valuable because of that. And you give up your fail stack levels when you cron. That as well as just the other no-brainer fact where, you know, it's just going to be cheaper in terms of cronstone cost to just do the lower difficulty duo to try instead of try to TET anyway. So basically, no matter how you look at it, if you are going to cron it, it's better to do the duo to try. I'd be careful with that too. 100 cronstones might not seem like a lot, but it adds up very quickly. I've had multiple try Blackstars take me 2 billion silver in cronstones, so be careful with those crons, especially if you're on EU. It's not that difficult for them to pile up and end up costing you more than you expected. And if you are going to cron it though, like I would really try not to be cronning and clicking on your TET Blackstars anything higher than like 140 fail stacks. I know that's weird. The math is a little bit complex, but you lose a lot of value if you're cronning it to click it past 140 fail stacks. Again, the key is TET Blackstar is going to be better at the start of your where you start clicking at 110 to 120, 30, 40 than it is going to be at the end, like 160, 170, 180, 190. It's better at the start. And remember that TET Blackstar has a much higher chance to actually succeed than a regular pen boss gear. If you look at 110 fail stacks, the typical starting point, a TET Blackstar is going to have over a 6% chance already. Whereas if you take a look at, you know, like pen boss gear at the same point, you're actually under a 4% chance. So it's going to be a lot easier in order to succeed. And this is why it's also another reason why it's going to be a little bit better at the start of the fail stack than at the end. Like if you are clicking on TET Blackstar 160, 170, 180 fail stacks, it's pretty unlucky. Just getting to 180, 190, like that doesn't happen very often. You're already unlucky right there. And just keep in mind that you're going to succeed quite a bit. So be okay with losing your fail stack. And, you know, if you really want it, you really want it. But it becomes a very bad way to get fail stack levels at that point. So, all right, now that we talked about the cronning, we talked about the starting point and the stopping point. What about Mass of Pure Magic? That's obviously going to be the main ingredient here for your Blackstar enhancing, and I'll give you guys a couple of important numbers to keep in mind, especially if you are trying to enhance Blackstar yourself here. Obviously, you're going to use the Mass of Pure Magic to turn into these flawless magical stones, so you're also going to need a hard and a sharp. If you are looking to make a TET Blackstar, it's going to take you an average, without cronning anything, of course, of between 200 to 250 Massive Pure Magic in order to get a Blackstar from Pry all the way to TET. Now remember, that's average. Average does not mean you're guaranteed. Average doesn't really mean anything when you're only doing one. You could easily spend 500, 600, 700, 1,000, 1,500 Massive Pure Magic and still not have it. You could also get RNG carried and only, 10, 20 Massive Pure Magic and somehow you end up with a TET Blackstar. But if you do this enough, if you do enhancing all day like I do, you're looking at about 200 to 250 Massive Pure Magic in order to get a TET Blackstar. That's without cronning it, of course. So if you guys do a lot of Hadoom grinding, if you're sitting on a lot of Massive Pure Magic, I see a lot of comments, people saying like, I've got all this Massive Pure Magic, I don't know what to do with it. Well, you're sitting on possibly quite a few TET Blackstars. If you're willing to test your luck, obviously, if you stay away from enhancing, if it's just not for you, I totally understand. But if you're sitting on like 750 Massive Pure Magic, you've got an average of like 3 TET Blackstars, which is 30 billion plus silver that you're sitting on. But you obviously still have to put it in RNG's hands and see if you hold up there. But anyway, the other important number is 15. That's about the number of Massive Pure Magic that you are going to need if you do end up failing a TET Blackstar attempt. I'm just talking about an attempt, so getting back up to try Blackstar. If you do end up failing one of those, it's going to take you an average of about 15 or so Massive Pure Magic in order to end up getting back up to try to give yourself another chance for a TET Blackstar attempt. So this is definitely going to eat through the Massive Pure Magic. Massive Pure Magic's very useful, very valuable if you're grinding a Doom. You know, these are definitely going to be really, really useful, not just for building Failstacks and enhancing, but also, like, you can make some decent money. A lot of people value Massive Pure Magic between 20 to 35 or so million silver each. I don't want to put an exact number on it, but nonetheless, they are very valuable. Also, keep in mind, though, very importantly, that when you do fail Blackstar, because it's its own tier of equipment, it is going to take double the durability loss. So that's going to be another factor that's going to add to the cost of creating Blackstar. So it's going to take 20 memory fragments to repair it instead of 10. But also, doing your TET Blackstar attempts, you only have to go up to try to do a TET attempt instead of, like, for boss gear to do a pen attempt, you have to go all the way up to TET. So it's got its pros, it's got its cons, it's a whole separate system all on its own. The last thing I want to end off on is actually something not TET Blackstar related, but I get a lot of questions about it, and it'll just be the last point of the video. And that is going to be, if you do somehow end up going for pen Blackstar down the road in the future, let's just say it's your final goal here, do you cron it? Do you not cron it? And I'll tell you guys, I'll end off on this point. Always, 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 always cron pen Blackstar. I know it's expensive, almost 4,000 cron stones. Even on EU, you're still going to want to cron this, where you have to spend the 2 million silver each for vendor crons. The only exception is if you're a very advanced player, if you've got a fail stack of like 300 or so. At that point, if you're paying double the price and you're buying vendor crons, you might be able to consider clicking it raw. But like NA players and basically everyone else, unless you've got like a super high fail stack and you're an advanced enhancer, always do cron pen Blackstar. The cost of de-leveling from TET back down to Tri is way too high to risk not using Cry Stones. So Cron Stones, you absolutely want to cron for your pen attempts. That's going to be about it. I mean, I probably missed some stuff out here and there in the video, but I threw a lot of info at you guys today. I really wanted to get into the detailed info and all the must-know stuff about TET Blackstar. I get so many questions about this every single day. I'm really hoping that this video did help out. So if you guys enjoyed and it did help out and you are new, consider subscribing to the channel. If you guys want to help out, be awesome, YouTube algorithm, you know, all that typical stuff. Feel free to drop a quick like. Feel free to comment as well. I know all that stuff helps out a little bit. I do my best to respond to as much stuff as I can. I really read everything. It's just I'm not the best at responding. Please feel free to reach out to me again on Twitch as well, twitch.tv/salt, where basically every single day we do live streams of enhancing, lots of really, really big stuff. So feel free to drop on in, and that's going to be about it for today. So thank you for watching. Have a good one, and until next time.